Today, Gaming America is speaking with Cleve Tzung, the CEO of Passport Technology, about what they offer to casino management. Thank you for speaking with us today, Mr. Tzung.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Cameron.
Yes. Well, first off, I was hoping you could give our viewership an account of your own career and your path in gaming and how you arrived at the position in which you now find yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of a winding road, but it's a road that leads through all of the different functional areas of a company, and it's positioned me well to sort of lead Passport into its next phase here. So it really starts at the University of Pennsylvania, where after I graduated, I went to work for Pepsi in their strategic planning group, participating in the cola wars there. I was then recruited into a wireless company to be a product manager. This company was eventually acquired by Verizon Wireless. And so I was a product manager and I introduced an early version of text messaging. I then went to UCLA to get my MBA. After UCLA, I worked in finance as a mergers and acquisitions banker for a number of years. I parlayed that into a role as the head of corporate development at Mattel, where I acquired a number of companies, but the key ones being fairly large ones were Thomas the Tank Engine and Mega Bloks. So I acquired and integrated those businesses. And so that was taking a little bit of a finance background and parlaying that into a little bit more of an operations role and strategy role. And so wrapped a lot of those functional sort of expertise areas. From there, I then got involved in Passport through my interactions with Scott Dowdy, who was the founder of Passport. So I worked for Scott at a company called Australis Capital. While I was at that company, he introduced me a little bit to Passport. We talked a little bit about this merger that he wanted to do with ASAI. So I helped provide him with a little bit of advice on that based upon my experiences. As that became more real, he brought me into Passport as their strategy officer. I became familiar with the company. I became familiar with ASAI. I was introduced to all the relevant players there. And when that merger was executed, when it closed, the combined board then said, okay, well, I've got the right sort of base of knowledge here to really take this company to the next level, integrate all the operations, and move forward. And so they voted me in as the CEO. They elevated Scott to the executive chairman, and he still maintains a fairly active kind of involvement in the company, but that's how I ended up there.
Cool. Well, that's pretty. I guess seems eclectic a past, but I suppose finance and the big thread running through a lot of that.
Yes, absolutely. So finance and sort of understanding operations and how do you make them better, and so all of that is particularly relevant to what I'm doing.
Sure. I was wondering if we could move on to Passport Technology a bit. Could you just sort of explain for any neophytes out there what the services and offerings that Passport Technology brings to the table are?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of products. I tend to think of them in terms of four major buckets. We also operate globally. So our product set differs with some minor variations depending upon what country we're operating in. But the first big bucket is what I call the payments bucket. And so that's your typical ATM transactions, cash advance, debit, check cashing. So that's a payments bucket. And within that payments bucket, we actually operate our own ATM switch, which is somewhat unique in the industry. It's not a lot of competitors actually do that. And I can sort of dig into that a little bit more. But that's a payments bucket. We also offer cage automation products for casinos. So this would be behind the cage. When you go to a casino, there's obviously the cage where you cash in your chips, et cetera. We offer both software and hardware that automates the processes that a cashier does behind the cage. We also offer a jackpot product. And so that automates the dispensing of cash when someone hits a jackpot, as an example. And so those are all automation features that we offer. We offer a loyalty product. And so this helps a casino sort of automate the enrollment process into the loyalty program, but also the management of points. So how does a patron earn points? How do they spend them? How do they, look up what their points balance is? All those different functions. We have a kiosk that does all of that for the casino. And then finally, we offer compliance software. So this is to help a casino, manage their regulatory obligations. So those are the four big buckets of products that we offer. And within each of those buckets, we offer a number of different products.
Yeah. So essentially, it's a technology company. I did have a sort of a follow-up question. Does the technology go beyond sort of casino management or cage management? Is it applicable to more diverse areas besides casinos?
It can be. Right now we have a lot of white space in the casino area, but
Mhm.
overall in terms of payments, so if you think about our ATM switch as an example, we actually offer ISO ATM services. So these are for retail
Right.
ATM. So it certainly can extend beyond that. When we start talking about things like loyalty and we start talking about sort of other payment options, that bleeds into kind of other kind of retail operations potentially. It bleeds into marketing. And so there are a lot of different other applications that we have an ability to leverage, but there's so much white space in the casinos right now. We are really focused on offering the best casino products. And from there, if there are some other opportunities that present themselves, we can certainly take those up.
Sure, sure. And back to casinos. How could a casino stand to benefit by integrating your technology? In your words.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple different ways when we think about we think of it holistically. So the technology is certainly there's certain elements to the technology that are beneficial, and I'll hit upon those directly here in a sec. But holistically, we are a relatively small competitor competing against a number of competitors, a couple of which are quite a bit larger than us. So we have a bit of an underdog mentality, which basically means we feel like we have to hustle a little harder. And what that really means is we take a lot of time and attention to listen to the customers, understand what their pain points are, and try and deliver against those pain points. A large corporate casino with a lot of different properties is gonna have different needs than a tribal casino operating in one location versus a tribal casino operating in kind of a rural location. They'll have different needs, every customer set. And we try very hard to understand what that is and service that. Now, in terms of the actual technology, so again, hitting upon the different buckets, if we think about, and I'll just sort of hit upon one in each bucket. So as an example, if within the payments bucket, operating our own switch sort of is a technology that we provide that offers some significant advantages to a casino and to the patrons if you execute it properly. So what does that mean? That means like we can offer things like surge pricing, which is what Uber does right now, which is time of day pricing. So if you're in a particular busy time, we can offer different pricing levels. We can offer different pricing levels for different loyalty levels based upon a patron's kind of loyalty tier. And we can do this in a context, and we can move very quickly as we do this. So that's a technology that really benefits. How does a casino want to sort of manage that payments experience to the customer? The data stream also offers a much higher level of reliability. We can control, by controlling an environment, we can control the element. We could first evaluate if anything's going wrong. We can sort of very quickly address it and provide a very seamless experience to a casino. And so that's an area where it provides both customer benefits, but also just reliability benefits. On the automation side of things, our technology, which I would consider to be best in class, provides some tools for a cashier to really help customers speed through the cage line. So it offers a better experience for them in the sense of less lines, faster access to cash, but also a much higher degree of accuracy for the cashier, right? Because the dispense is all automated, the amounts are all automated, everything is sort of automated, and so provides a much higher degree of accuracy for the cashier, and also a much higher degree of audit accuracy for the casino, because the casino, in combination with the cameras in the time of transaction, we can very closely monitor everything that's going on behind the cage there. So that's an example of the automation piece of things. On the loyalty side of things, we've designed the product to be very easy with tools for the casino itself to manage. And what that means is a casino can actually manage for themselves, should they choose to, kind of the promotions that are embedded in that kiosk. That allows the casino marketing department to respond very quickly to whatever the environment is in the casino on their own. They don't need to call us. it works. It works however they want it to work. If they want to call us, we certainly will help them. But it offers a level of customization that we think really benefits both the casino patron, but also the brand image that a casino wants to project. Because the faster they can react, the more that they can offer, the better that experience is for the customer, and the better it is for the brand. So those are some examples of how we deploy the technology for the benefit of the casino.
Would you say this technology is replacing humans, or is it just sort of making humans more accurate? I was wondering.
Well, it doesn't really. So the cage automation doesn't replace humans. So there's still a cashier there. It actually just augments their capabilities. Is kind of how I'd say it.
Yeah.
On the loyalty side of things, again, it doesn't necessarily replace personnel, but it sort of augments the experience, because there are certain times. So I've been in casinos when I sort of go and look at some of these products. I've been in casinos where, if you're there at a certain time of day, let's say around midnight or so, what is typically sort of an interaction with a loyalty signer, basically someone who signs you up for a loyalty program, they may or may not be at the booth, right? And so I've experienced this a couple of times. And that's a bad experience when I'm a casino patron trying to go and I want to sign up for a loyalty program. I can't find anyone to sign up for it, right? Yeah. And so I don't view that as as automation sort of replacing a human. I view that as automation sort of allowing a casino to sort of figure out like what is the best way to interact with a customer.
Sure. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about who your main customers are for this technology. You mentioned tribal. I mean, could you just expand a bit on that, please?
Yeah. So, so right now, like I said, we're global. So we operate in a number of different countries. Within the U.S., our primary customer right now is a tribal casino. We have some large casinos. We have some small casinos. We have some customers in route operations. So we have some route operators that are customers. And that's a full suite of products that we offer to them. They tend to like one provider. They tend to like to have one person for their service. And so we provide all those operations for them. Globally, you have different landscapes depending upon the country. So in Canada, operations are very similar to the US in terms of it's sort of an overall North American market. In the UK, where we have significant operations, it tends to be cash advance market. Those tend to be the ones that we focus on, that we service the best. And then there are going to be some other countries that will add to the fold here fairly soon.
Sure. Is there any room for this technology being applied to the sort of online casino sphere, or it seems very designed for land-based? Am I correct in assuming?
Well, yeah. So most of it. So right now, most of it, which is cash-based, is land-based. There are some opportunities here for, digital wallet, to a lesser extent, even potentially Bitcoin, and those have potential online applications, especially with the loyalty. So our loyalty program, obviously, if you think about it, we have customers that have restaurant operations, as an example. So if you want to take loyalty points and use them in a restaurant operation, that's an example of taking our technology outside of the casino into a different environment. So there is that potential as well.
Okay. Moving on a little bit. Last year, Passport Technology merged with Automated Systems America, if I'm not mistaken. I was wondering how this merger went and how you would say the company has changed or evolved as a result over the last year.
Yeah, no. So, you first start with, why do you do the merger? How do you make, again, and to use a cliche term, how do you make 1 + 1 = 3? The reason for the merger was there was a very, very good sort of geographic synergy as well as expertise synergy between the two companies. What I mean by geographically is Passport was essentially an international company. ASAI was essentially a domestic company. And you had a couple of different sort of, ASAI was a full product suite with a lot of R&D development. Passport was much more of a sales organization. So very good at sort of developing new business. And so, you have the merge of those two sort of geographic synergies, which is sort of now you have a global operation, not just international, not just domestic, but global. And now you have two different sets of expertise, one being a very R&D focused organization, the other being a very sales focused organization, and combining those two sort of expertise sets. And the idea there is to basically use the sales expertise and broaden penetration in the US, use the product set and potentially broaden the potential product set outside of the US. So what we've done here is, the merger has actually gone quite well from that sense, from a cultural perspective and from from an actual operational perspective. It's gone quite well. So we're scaling the business now. We've made a number of inroads within the US in terms of sales, and we are deploying some new products outside of the US, which we're going to make some announcements here fairly soon. But again, sort of this has all come together in a very short amount of time. But we've done a very good job at it. And I think some of that can be kind of, some of the proof of that is an example of the recent funding that we have with Peak Rock Capital, where they basically came in and did significant diligence, viewed our growth prospects, and really got attracted to kind of what we were doing. And so, so that's kind of a external proof of kind of how we're doing with the merger, which I think has been very good so far.
So you have made 1 + 1 indeed equal 3.
Yes, so far, exactly.
Good.
Exactly.
That's glad to hear. I had sort of one penultimate question before my traditional final question, but I was wondering, in the line of work that Passport Technology works in, is fraud an issue that you must sort of contend with your technology?
Yeah, I know. So fraud is always an issue, and has always been an issue, especially when you're dealing with the credit card space. It's become a little bit less of an issue since the proliferation of the EMV cards. But we have a couple different things that we do and they're different internationally versus domestically. So internationally, we deploy a process and we deploy a technology that is point-to-point encrypted. And so at the time that a user actually inputs their card for a cash advance, that transaction is then tokenized. So it's essentially anonymous from a credit card perspective, but it's tokenized so we know who the user is. And so we deploy that level of encryption, which is very protective from a fraud standpoint. On the domestic side, we have not yet deployed P2P encryption, but what we do is we only maintain the credit card information for a period of time that's necessary to execute potentially a chargeback or some form of a customer call. And that's usually within a 24-hour period. We then truncate the credit card information, and that's all we maintain in the database. So we can go back in the records and review records for auditing purposes, but we no longer have any kind of information that could be used for fraudulent purposes.
Sure. Cool. My last question is what I ask every person I interview. Where would you like to see the company 18, 24 months from now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different things I'd like to happen. So one is the execution of everything that we're doing now. So the deployment of products, we have a lot of white space growth that I would like to accomplish. And so that's operationally some of the goals that I have. And in the meantime, I'm scaling up the business for significant growth. But where I want to be in 18 to 24 months is I want to be at that next level. So I want to have sort of introduced our products in a couple of new markets. I will want to penetrate the US market to a greater extent. And I will want to have sort of scaled up some of the operations here. And really where that puts us in 18 to 24 months is that puts us at a point of inflection. And the inflection would be, generally speaking, probably more of a capital inflection. And we'll be in a position then, we'll demonstrate growth, we'll demonstrate the validity of our products. We'll demonstrate sort of the kind of the benefits of our technology and our software. And we'll be in a position at that point to either be, to think about strategic options. Like I said, we'll be at an inflection point. There will be some merger and acquisition opportunities. There'll be some other financing opportunities, whether that be private, public, what have you. I want to be in that position. And I think that will offer us the best opportunity to reward both our employees and our shareholders. So that's where I'd like to be.
Super. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
This has been Cleve Tzung, the CEO of Passport Technology. Thank you for speaking with Gaming America today, Mr. Tzung.
Thanks so much, Cameron.